Hi everybody, it's Barbara with Acting for Community Theatre. I want to ask you guys a question. If you get cast for a show, what is the first thing that you do when you get your script? Is it highlight your lines? I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't. Okay, so let's talk about why I would say that you shouldn't highlight your lines. And why I say that is you should take advantage, especially if you don't know the play, if you've never read the play, if you only read it once a long time ago, or you saw it in school like 5 years ago. If you're not really familiar with the play, you should take advantage of something, and that is your chance to access the play the same way that the audience does. In other words, if they don't know the play really well, they're going to access it the same way. They're going to be discovering it for what is essentially the first time. When you highlight your lines first, whether or not you're reading the play line by line and then stopping to highlight yours and you go through the whole play, or like some actors do, is you're flipping through the play and not reading anybody's line. You're just scanning for your character name and then highlighting that. Either way, you're not really accessing the play, and certainly not the way the audience is going to access the play. If you're just looking for your lines to highlight, then you're not getting anything else. They're completely out of context. If you're reading along with the play, but then stopping to highlight your line, you're not really getting the flow of the play or the drive or the tempo or the pace or the story or the action of the scene, because you're constantly interrupting it and looking at your line and thinking, oh, that's a good line, or I don't understand that line, or why would I say that, or what does that word mean, or wait a minute, didn't I just say that last time? Like you're actually drilling down on your line and not on the story at all. So I want to talk about the best way for you to actually read a script before you start into a rehearsal process. We will let you highlight your lines, just not right now. So how do you read a play that you've been cast for? The first thing that I would do is I would find a peaceful, quiet place where I'm not going to be disturbed. Don't bring your smartphone with you. No radios, no TV. Like, just turn everything off and go into a quiet room where you're not going to be disturbed for a couple of hours. Make sure you have your bathroom break. Make sure you've got some tea or some water with you, and just be focused on that script. The second thing I would do is when you go to read that play, read it out loud. And it doesn't matter if you trip over the lines or that you're not quite sure how to say them because you don't know what's going on in the play yet. I just want you to read it out loud, because then you can actually hear it. And believe it or not, you're going to get much more of the story that way. You're going to actually get a much closer version to what the audience will get, because it feels more alive. When you find your lines, just read them like anybody else's. Don't highlight them. Don't stop and examine them. You just want to read the play out loud, line by line by line. When you get to an intermission, take it. Go walk away for 10 minutes. Go to the washroom. Get some more tea, get some water. Just don't spend too much time. And I really wouldn't go and have a conversation with anybody necessarily. You do that at intermission, but I would just get away from it for a few minutes. That was a tough line to get out. And then come back and read the next act. As soon as you're done, what I want you to do is take notes on what your first impressions of the play are. This is your chance, because you're never going to get that chance again. It's your chance to understand how the audience is going to access that play for their first impressions. So let's take advantage of that right now. You've just read the play. Grab a notebook and open up to a fresh page and start writing some basic stuff down. Did you like the play? Why? What parts were your favorite parts? What parts didn't you like? What parts confused you? What parts were sort of logically weird, or you didn't understand what time or place you were in, or you were confused by a jump in the action somehow? Who were your favorite characters? And don't worry about yours, but whose character were you really wanting to follow, and why? What do you think they wanted? Who's your favorite villain in the play, and what do you think they wanted? Just read the play the first time out loud, just for enjoyment, just for pleasure, just for getting to know the story. And then write down some notes about it, how you felt about it. Did you like it? Did it make you cry or laugh out loud? And what parts made you laugh out loud and why? What kind of a play did you think it was? Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a farce? What did the play make you think about? Sometimes we're just entertained, but other times we actually are driven to deep thought. Maybe it was a thoughtful play. Write down all the notes about what you thought and how you felt about the play. And after you've done that, put the play away and don't read it again for at least a day. Just let that all simmer in your subconscious. That's your first reading. Now, you don't have to read the play again, obviously. Lots of actors will get cast weeks in advance and they don't even look at the play until the first read. And you can do that. You're volunteers. However, why not do a little more? Why not be, rather than in the middle of the pack, at the front of the pack? Why not inspire your fellow cast members to do a little more? To be more dedicated, to be more committed, to be more interested in this play and how we can make it a success. Those are the reasons that I would want to do another reading of the play before I highlighted my lines. So now that I've sort of tried to sell you on that, this time we've got your first impressions, and maybe it's the next day or maybe it's a week later, which actually is not a bad thing to leave it alone for more than just a day. This time I want you to read the play again in a nice quiet place where you're not going to be disturbed and out loud. It's really important that you do that because you're going to catch things you wouldn't have caught if you don't read it out loud. But you will find those things later because, of course, you will be reading them out loud in rehearsal. So during this second read, you're going to do a couple of things. The first read was for pure enjoyment and just finding out if you like the play and how the audience might feel about it too. The second time is to get information. So what you want to do is several things. One of them is just asking questions and making notes about things that you don't understand. You're reading through the play and you're like, wait a second, is this the same day or is this the next day? How did we get to this location? Why is this scene in the play? I don't understand why this scene is there. What does this character want? And what do these words mean? Because if they're an historical play or something like that, and it doesn't even have to be that far back, really, to be an historical play, you might find a term in there that you don't understand. And you want to know what that means. So that's something that you need to circle and make a star beside in a pencil so that you can look it up. So you want to just ask questions about the play, things you don't understand. And then you want to just sort of get an idea of the characters themselves. Who is the protagonist? Who's the villain? Who's the confidant? Just who's the leading man? Who's the ingenue? Maybe there isn't one. Just find out for yourself, kind of figure out who everybody is in the play and to each other. Sort of get an idea what people want. You kind of did that in the first one, but really kind of drill down on it a little bit. And then I would do something with my character and I would figure out exactly who they are and what role they play in the play. What I mean by that is, are they a confidant? Are they a foil? Are they an ally? Are they an adversary to the main character? Or maybe you are the main character. If you're the hero, then I want to know what you're fighting for. And if you're not the hero and you're either an ally or an adversary, I want to know, why are you putting things in the way of this person getting what they want? What do you want? Why are you helping this person get what they want? How does it help you? And then I would just get a sense of the story overall. Because if you understand what the story overall is, then all the little plot points, all the scenes and moments along the way will start to make sense to you earlier than if you had just started rehearsal. It's like, this is who the play is really about. This is what that person is fighting for. This is what that person or people are fighting. So it could be other people, or it could be a mountain, for example. And then what's at stake if they don't make it. And so if you've got those sort of things in mind, and you can kind of put it in a sentence, then what you've got is you've got a picture of the play. And even if it's not completely accurate and your director has another idea, it will give you a sense of, I think it's about this person or people. I think they're fighting for this. I think this is what's in their way. And I think this is why they're fighting so hard. So it raises the stakes and makes the action very clear. And if you've got that basic in there, you can figure out where your character fits into that quite easily, especially if you're the main character or the villain. Those are the things I would do for the second read, is just getting to know the play, just getting to know the basics, just getting to know what the play really is, what the story is, and ask questions about things that you're not clear on. Because that way, when you walk into that first read, the director is probably going to ask, hey, does anybody know what this means? If it's something unusual. Or it might be in your line, especially if it's in your line. If someone says they're, pugnacious or something, you better know what that means. So do your homework. It alerts you to questions that you don't know the answers to, and it gives you a sort of overview of the story. So you kind of know what you're walking into because you can do your homework on it, and then you can sort of get an idea of what the play's about. Even if the director thinks it's a little bit different, that's okay. So once you've done that and you've got a better sense of the play, you know how it's going to be accessed generally by the audience. You know where the funny moments are. You know where the confusing moments are. You know what the action of the play kind of is because you know what people are fighting for and who the story's about. You know how your character fits in there in a rough sort of way. And you've asked any questions or identified questions rather, so that you can go and do some research. So you're about as prepared as you need to be when you walk into rehearsal. The third time you go through the play, that's when you get to highlight your lines. So you can read it out loud again, or you can read it just to yourself again. I mean, the more times you read the play, the more times you're going to find information, and the better it's going to be. And that, for me, is how you read a script as an actor. I hope this was helpful, and I think we're going to move on to body and voice next. So I'll see you soon.